Just as a disclaimer, we want you to know that some of the movies that we will be reviewing were shot in a different time and era where people of race and sex were not treated equally. We understand this and hope you do too. The movies or anything that happened on the sets are not the views of this podcast or what this show is intended to be all about.
Exactly. And we want to give due diligence in presenting the movie and not the views of the cast or directors or anyone involved. But we also feel it's necessary to let the audience know some of the background information to get a feel for what was happening at the time of shooting the film. Again, we hope you understand that we do not agree with everything that went on, and we just want to give out the information. And with that being said, hope you enjoy the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema. This is episode 21, and we will be discussing the movie The Pride of the Yankees. Hi, I'm your host, Jimbo, and my co-host is, it's not Terrence. This is a sports movie, and Terrence is not a big fan of sports movies, so I have a special guest in here with me. Guest, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Dwayne. I'm in my 40s. I'm old, and a big baseball fan and a big movie fan, so I'm excited to be here and talk about this classic movie.
Right. So I was looking for somebody. I know Dwayne was a big baseball fan, and we were just talking over supper tonight, and he said that he has attended every baseball stadium except for two, so in person. So he's actually visited all of them. So and I know he has like partial season tickets to the Reds. So I thought, who better to talk about one of the greatest baseball movies of all time than Dwayne? So Dwayne, just because Terrence isn't here doesn't mean that you're not getting rid of getting the question. Oh. So, yeah, the famous question. But you're like, yeah, I at least giving you a little heads up at supper that you were going to have one. So, Dwayne, go ahead and give me your top 5 favorite baseball players of all time.
Of all time? Man, that's hard. Well, big Reds fan, so obviously the big 70s teams had some good players. To my favorite from that team, Johnny Bench, Pete Rose. I love watching the Baseball Bunch when I was a kid with Johnny Bench and the San Diego Chicken. Also, I was a big Reggie Jackson fan back in the day. And then recently, two players I really liked off the Reds are Adam Dunn and currently Joey Votto is probably my favorite player.
Yeah, so you're a little bit older than me, so I'd have to go with some of my favorite players was, of course, being a Reds fan myself, was Eric Davis in that World Series team. Probably Darryl Strawberry, just because I thought he had an awesome last name. You can't go wrong with Nolan Ryan and Roger Clemens, two of my favorite pitchers of all time, because they did. You may have hit one out in the park of them, but the next time you're coming to bat, you're getting drilled. That's just the way they were. And then, of course, the Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco bunch, the Bash brothers. It just made it, and obviously the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith, fantastic. So without further ado, we're getting ready to talk about this gem of a classic back from 1943, The Pride of the Yankees. Dwayne, since Terrence isn't here and you're filling in, I'm going to go ahead and let you do all that hoobagaloo.
Okay, well, I'll take a shot at it, see how it goes. So it's The Pride of the Yankees. It was released in March 5th, 1943. The budget, we couldn't find one. Box office and rentals has made over $2.5 million. The director was Sam Wood. There are quite a few writers on this. Joe Swerling had the screenplay. Also, Herman J. Mankiewicz also got credited for the screenplay. It was based on an original story by Paul Gallico. David Runyon wrote the prologue, and then Paul Gallico also was a contributor to the treatment, but it was uncredited. Vincent Lawrence was also a contributor to the dialogue, uncredited, and then Casey Robinson did some uncredited work. Technical specs is a 2-hour and 8-minute movie. The sound mix is mono Western electric mirrophonic recording. It is a black and white movie. The aspect ratio is 1.37 to 1. The film length is 3,514.05 meters. And then the negative format is 35 millimeter. The cinematographic...
See, we all had a problem with that word. I just wanted to see if you could make it through without Terrence something, but...
Cinematographic process is spherical. Printed film format is 35 millimeter. And then some of the awards. It won one Oscar for Best Film Editing, Daniel Mandel. And it had some nominees. I was nominated for Best Picture, Sam Goldwyn Productions. Best Actor in a Leading Role, Gary Cooper, Super Duper. Best Actress in a Leading Role, Teresa Wright. Best Writing Original Story, Paul Gallico. Best Writing Screenplay, Herman J. Mankiewicz and Joe Swerling. Best Cinematography, Black and White, Rudolph Mattei. Best Art Direction, Interior Decoration, Black and White, Perry Ferguson, Howard Bristol. Best Sound Recording, Thomas T. Moulton, Samuel Goldwyn, SSD. Best Effects, Special Effects, Jack Cosgrove. Photographic. Photographic.
Hey, here we go.
Yes.
Hooked on Phonics worked for you, buddy.
Ray Binger, photographic. Thomas T. Moulton again for sound. And then best music scoring of a dramatic or comedy picture went to Lee Harline. And the synopsis is the story of one of baseball's greatest players, Lou Gehrig.
And as you can tell from the awards, this is an outstanding movie. I mean, it was nominated, was at the Academy Awards in 43?
40.
I think it's 1943. It should be right
Probably
here.
It came out in, yes, 43.
So, I mean, for a film back then to be nominated for all those and still holds up to this time. I personally just watched this movie probably last week, and I was emotional. I mean, it's more than just a baseball movie, but we'll get into that later. So let's go and talk about the cast real quick. The amazing thing about this cast is some of the baseball players actually portrayed themselves in this movie. So you start off with the main character, Gary Cooper. He played Lou Gehrig. Teresa Wright as Eleanor Gehrig. Babe Ruth, not the candy bar, but Babe Ruth, the baseball player, played himself. Walter Brennan as Sam Blake. Dan Duria as Hank Hanneman. Elsa Jansen as Mom Gehrig. Ludwig Stossel as Pop Gehrig. Virginia Gilmore as Myra. Bill Dickey as himself. Ernie Adams as Miller Huggins. Pierre Watkin as Mr. Twitchell. Harry Harvey as Joe McCarthy, who was the manager. Robert M. Musel as himself, Mark Koenig as himself, Bill Stern as himself, Addison Richards as coach, Hardy Albright as Van Tool, Edward Fielding as clinic doctor, George Leslie as mayor of New Rochelle, Edgar Barrier as hospital doctor, Douglas Croft as Lou Gehrig when he was a boy, Gene Collins as Billy, age 8, David Holt as Billy, age 17, Frank Phelan as Yankees third base coach was uncredited, C. Montague Shaw as Mr. Worthington uncredited, and James Westerfield as as a spectator was uncredited. So there you can see a lot of the baseball players actually play themselves in this movie. So since this is our first sports movie, we're going to tackle this a little differently. I do have some audio to put in here, so but we wanted this to be more of a feel of just general talk between two guys talking about sports. So pull up the bleachers. We're about ready to just dive into this and just have some fun. So go ahead. We'll just start off with whatever you want to talk about. Give us a topic. Dwayne, what
All
do
right,
you got?
topic. Okay.
Give us something.
Well, let's see. How about? Let me get to my notes. It's the right place.
Fancy
Okay.
iPad.
Well, a interesting thing is Columbia University, and Gehrig played baseball at Columbia, but he actually went on a football scholarship. Mm-hmm. And
yeah. Before we get into that, I mean, we'll head there. But the thing that most people don't know is at the beginning of this film, when Gehrig's playing baseball out in the, I guess it was alleyway, if you would, where all the people are there, and he keeps breaking windows, right, hitting the ball.
Yeah.
And you see the scene where he comes home to his mom, and the guy's in there. He's like, and the policemen are in there, and they're like, "Look, you broke the window. You got to pay." And his mom's going over this jar. And he's like, "I'm sorry, Mom." And he's like, "Please, mister, don't make her pay for it. I'll do anything." And his mom's digging in. She's like, "Here's 14 something. I'll give you the other $2 on payday." The bond between him and his mother in this movie, because she was always like, "Who's your favorite girl, Lou?" He's like, "You are, Mama. You'll always be my favorite." But when she gets sick, that's when Lou Gehrig, because she always wanted to be an engineer. So when Lou Gehrig, or when his mom gets sick, he decided that, hey, I can go play baseball and make money to pay for my mother's expenses. And they were trying to cover it up, him and his dad. Remember, they told his dad that he had another job. And she's like, "I don't understand why these people are being so nice to me in here." She's like, they're just nice and they treat me well and everything. But little did she know that Lou was actually paying for all of her bills behind her back and paying them extra to help take care of her. So that's when we got to the Columbia University.
Yeah.
So, and that's where they found. Go ahead, take it over.
Yeah, well, I think going back to there, I really like the one thing she said to her son is that in America you can be anything you want to be.
Right.
She wanted him to be an engineer, but his path in life didn't go that way. So.
Well, if you remember, she always made him feel bad too, because there was that picture of Uncle. Remember the uncle or who, I can't remember his name. She's like, "Don't you want
Uncle Oscar?" I think.
Yeah, he's like, he was an engineer. Don't you want to take care of your family like our uncle? You can do it. She's like, but he's like, but I want to be a baseball player. Yeah. She's like, "No, you want to be an engineer." "Yeah, I want to be an engineer, Mom." So I thought that was just the bond that he had with his mom, just really, and his dad covered a lot for him in this movie, even all the way towards the end, because he was off playing baseball, and then she's outside like, "Yeah, he's away, he's an engineer," and the neighbor's like, "Didn't you see the page of the paper?" And like, well, then all of a sudden all them people break into their house, so and say, "Oh," so
now he went to Columbia University the year before, though. He did play minor league baseball, but he played under a assumed name, so he wouldn't lose his eligibility for college.
Oh, really?
And so it turns out they found out, and so his freshman year he couldn't play football at Columbia. So
I didn't really hurt him in the long run, you know what I mean? But you remember, I think it was the one time where the guy comes up to him, and it was one of the guys from the Yankees in the movie. And he's like, "Yeah, just get out of here, mister." He's like, "I'm so-and-so." He's like, "Yeah, right." Yeah. So here's one thing that I found, that Lou Gehrig had never played the game of baseball before, or Gary Cooper, I mean, that played Lou Gehrig. He had never played the game of baseball before, even as a youth, and he had never even seen a baseball game when he took this role. So with that being said, he really didn't have, he wasn't really the best actor slash baseball player because he wasn't a baseball player.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had people like Lefty O'Doul working with him to improve his batting style. He had several people like, you'll hear in a minute, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip by Sean Astin, which was famous for Sam, Lord of the Rings. He talks about pride of the Yankees, and he talks about that how they used to put the letters on his jersey and stuff backwards, and he was batted right-handed because Lou Gehrig was left-handed, and they shot this in reverse, so when they flipped the film, it would be outright. So we're going to go ahead and insert this right here and let you guys hear it.
Pride of the Yankees. Well, I just knew that was one of those sensitive moments that if my mother was around and Pride of the Yankees was on, there was going to be sobbing. Because when Gary Cooper as Luke Gehrig gives that speech about I'm the luckiest man in the world, and you hear the echoing through the stadium, and you know, she was just gone. She was just gone. And, I mean, obviously that story, Lou Gehrig's story of it's suffering and triumph. You know, the triumph isn't as meaningful if there isn't the suffering, but that real human pain. And then, you know, as an actor, I've done different sports movies and had to learn little things. But the fact that Gary Cooper was right-handed and Lou Gehrig was left-handed, and they filmed it with the letters backwards on his jersey so they could flip it over. I don't think I could have done it either way. I think I would have messed the camera up or something.
All right, so there you have it from Sean Astin. What a great guy. Another interesting thing I found about this movie is that when they were filming this movie, they ran everything by Lou Gehrig's wife, Eleanor. And they told her that, hey, anytime, Samuel Goldwyn said, anytime that you don't like something in this movie, you let us know, we'll change it. She liked it so much, she said, we're not changing anything. She's like, it's perfect. So if you have something else, you can go ahead and throw something in here while I'm...
Well, the interesting thing is when we go to the college scene, there's a little interesting thing they do with the music here. They come out with the it's basically Joseph Haydn Emperor Quartet. It's a string quartet thing, but it's orchestrated, and it comes to that end of the piece. But the thing is, that's also the German national anthem.
Huh.
So, and it kind of expounds on that scene because Gehrig was a second generation American. His parents were German immigrants, and that you see that the one guy who didn't want him in the fraternity. That was around 1920, 21, just right after the First World War. So there was
still some animosity there.
There was still some anti-German hostility towards him, and I've read in some biographies where that was one thing his parents kind of were cognizant of. And even when this movie came out in 1943,
right?
Which was in the middle of World War II. So. That kind of makes out that you see that animosity between him and some of the members of that fraternity.
Right.
So
I remember in that scene in the movie where he gets so excited when they all vote to pin him.
Yeah.
And, you know, they put that little fake pin, or not fake, but it wasn't his real pin. They pin him, and he runs into the kitchen to his mom. Mom, look. And she's like, what? He's like, look. She's like, oh, you got your pin. Yeah. So he actually got to join the fraternity that he wanted. Something else... If you haven't seen this movie, before we go any further, make sure you watch this movie because we're going to talk about some heavy stuff. Lou Gehrig obviously played for the Yankees, and he set the record for playing the most consecutive games at 2,130 consecutive games. I think it's over 14 years, if I remember right, something like that.
Yes.
That record has stood the test of time until Cal Ripken Jr. did it. I forget what year he did it in, but that was the last one to break it. So he really was the original Iron Man, as Dwayne breaks his iPad.
Sorry.
You're all right. He was, like I said, he was original Iron Man. This is also ranked as number 3 of AFI's Institute list of the 10 greatest film in the genre of sports. Something else about Eleanor Gehrig. She actually, if you watch the movie, Gehrig presents his wife with this gift, and it's a bracelet that he made out of all like his awards. You know, I mean, he broke it down. It's like, yeah, I got this for the batting average or whatever, and this for this. But that is the bracelet that is in the movie. Lou Gehrig's wife put it on loan to him. That is the actual bracelet that is in there. It is made up of 17 metal medallions that celebrate the 7 World Championships and 6 All-Star Game appearances that Gehrig made. And the bracelet is now displayed in the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is very interesting. Do you got anything else at the moment?
Well, looking at he was the fraternity he joined was was Phi Delta Theta, and this fraternity gives out. It's the only fraternity that gives out an award to a Major League Baseball player, and they give it out yearly to to recognize an MLB player who's really worked in humanitarian items. I know. There are a couple of them that have, I believe, have done different various charities and stuff like that. I know there are several that have done ALS that work heavily with that ALS.
Is that known as the Lou Gehrig Award these days? Did they change it, or is that still the Alpha whatever you said that? The actual award is the Lou Gehrig Memorial Award. Okay.
I know, like one my favorite player right now, Joey Votto won it in 2017. I believe.
Okay.
Corey Kluber of the Indians won it last year. So I mean,
so here we have him. He's come up through. He's come from a tough life of immigrants. He's worked his way to. He's in college because he was going to be an engineer, but then he gets discovered to be a baseball player. His mom gets sick, and then he finally goes in there. He's like, I know I can take care of this. He goes in there and throws down. He's like, he signs, and they give him that check. He runs off to pay the bills. One thing when he was starstruck when he first got there because if you remember, he's out there on the field. There's Babe Ruth and all of them, and he just stands there for a minute, and then he sees Eleanor in the crowd. She was. I forget who she was exactly, but she was somebody pretty rich or something with her dad.
Her dad was she was a socialite in Chicago, and her dad had connections with the White Sox, and so
that's what it was, yeah. So he sees her, and he slips on them backs, right? The bats that are lined up, and what does she call him? Do you remember? Tenderfoot. And so that was kind of the name. And then later on, probably I think it's that night or the next night, they're at that restaurant eating.
Yeah.
And Gary goes over. He's in the background. He sees her walks in. He's like, oh no, because he kind of had a little crush on her. So he went and sits down. And then as she's coming down, she sees him and looks at him, and she slips and falls. And he says, "Hey, Tenderfoot," or whatever. So you could see the connection that they had right away in this movie. Lou Gehrig. He was a great player, and we're going to get into some of the stuff later in his life here in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about Gary Cooper. He wasn't much of a baseball fan. As you can tell, he's never even seen a game before this movie, but he only did this movie because he owed a favor to Samuel Goodwin. So I was like, wow. But he also went on to do the Lux Radio Theater, broadcasted a 60-minute radio adaptation of this movie on Monday, October 4th, 1943, with Gary Cooper reprising his role. There was also... they did another one. There's another radio thing they did. I can't find it at this moment. But he reprised his role in the same thing as Lou Gehrig. Also, Gary Cooper was actually born in 1901, and Lou Gehrig was born in 1903. So when this movie was released, Cooper was only barely 2 years older than Lou Gehrig was.
Yeah.
The sad thing about this is that Lou Gehrig discovered that something was wrong. He had been playing, and here's a little clip from when Lou Gehrig started not feeling right and that he felt like something was wrong. So take a listen to this.
Lou Gehrig is a Yankee legend. I think without argument, he's the greatest first baseman to ever play the game. When Lou Gehrig first came up to the Yankees, Babe Ruth was the greatest star in the galaxy. And later in his career, Joe DiMaggio arrived. But he did not mind being in the shadows. If anything, he was uncomfortable in the limelight. And at the same time, when you look at his numbers, they're staggering,
They called Gehrig the Iron Horse because he played more consecutive games than any other player. He was there in the lineup every day. He performed his job brilliantly, effectively. Gehrig hit these line drives and just chugged around the bases.
He was the avatar for the whole Yankee tradition.
In 1938, Gehrig showed up for spring training. He felt off. He noticed that he was squeezing the bat harder. He was getting these blisters. And as the season goes along, his numbers are off, and he finishes the 1938 season with what for most human beings would be a terrific year, but everybody can see in spring training of 1939, he's stumbling out in the field. Now, the reporters are all speculating about what's wrong with Gehrig. He pulls himself out of the lineup after 2,130 consecutive games, by far the longest streak ever in baseball at that point. And he goes to the Mayo Clinic. And there, the doctor instantly recognizes that Gehrig has ALS. ALS is a neurological disease, and it effectively shuts down the messages from the brain to the body, and the muscles start to melt away.
All right, so there you see the start of the downfall for Lou Gehrig. He actually took himself out of a game, breaking his streak. This is when he goes to the Mayo Clinic, and he goes up there, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with him, and he takes a bunch of x-rays, and he tells them, he said, just give it to me straight, doc. He's like, is this 3 strikes? And the doctor's like, yeah, it's 3 strikes. He's like, well, how long do I got? And he's like, not really sure, you know what I mean? And he's like, I don't want my wife to find out. So by this time in the movie, his wife is actually on her way up to see them, and ringing the bell, knocking on the door, and he's like, I don't want her to tell. So she comes in, and he's all being happy, it's, we got another x-ray, and then we can go. And so as soon as the door shuts, she knows something wrong, and she turns around, and she asks his manager or his friend, whatever, she said, when's he going to die? And she just broke down in his arms. And that, to me, that's when it really got me, because for the rest of the movie, she just put on an act like she didn't want to let him know that she knew what was going on. And it just kept tugging at my heartstrings, man, because Lou Gehrig he never wanted any help. He wanted to still be the same macho man that he always thought he was, and it just took a toll on his wife. So during the casting of this, there was a couple people that auditioned for the role of, or there was people that they think should have played the role, like Spencer Tracy, Eddie Albert, Cary Grant, and Brian Donnelly. They were all considered roles. Some people wanted one of the Cleveland Indians pitchers' name. I can't remember. I had it here a minute ago. They wanted him to play the part. But Samuel Goldwyn said, hey, it's my movie. Gary Cooper's going to be Lou Gehrig. So go ahead, Dwayne. Just throw something else out here.
Well, there was an interesting scene in the middle where, speaking of Samuel Goldwyn, where they had basically Velaz and Yolando. They were a dance team. They were a husband and wife dance team. And Samuel Goldwyn, he insisted on this ballroom sequence so that they get some interest with the women. Yes.
Right. I remember that's where Lou Gehrig and Eleanor are sitting there. And I don't believe he had asked her to marry him yet, had he?
No, because
it was like a date, wasn't it?
It was like one of the first dates, yeah.
And I remember that after that, she's like, well, why don't you dance with me? And she gets out there and they start dancing. And you've watched this recently more than I have, but I remember she's like, you're just going on to the next town to your next girl. And you probably got one in Cleveland and one in whatever. And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, well, you? And she's like, well, I guess I could call up so-and-so and so-and-so. And he's like, well, wait a minute. I was like, man, poor guy.
I mean, that's the one thing I really like about Gehrig is he was kind of a shy kind of introvert. I mean, you see a lot of these other players that he played with. They were, Babe Ruth was like the most boisterous athlete of all time, right. and Gehrig is just kind of total opposite. It's just kind of unassuming, quiet, and
like he never says anything hardly. And we'll get to it at the end of this. Like even when he gives his final speech at Yankee Stadium, like he didn't even want to talk. He didn't even want the day. It was like Lou Gehrig Day, and he was like, I don't even want to talk. But the manager at the time put his hand behind his back, basically shuffled him up to the microphone. And I'm going to play that speech here at the end of this. So another fun fact is Babe Ruth missed several days of shooting this because he was sick himself. And I think it's pretty cool that some of the baseball players played themselves, because who better to get the acting right than the people that were there?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite scenes of that movie is when Babe Ruth gets on the train, and he got that new hat.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got this hat. He's like, and nobody better do anything to it, or I'm going to have fisticuffs with them or whatever. So one guy, they're dealing in cars, and basically like, deal me in. So some guy takes his hat, takes a bite out of the hat, and then he passes it around. They take a bite out. One gets all the way down to Lou Gehrig, and Lou takes a bite. And he's like, go ahead, take two. So he takes the second bite, and Babe Ruth turns around and sees him, and I thought he was going to kill him. But I was like, man, that was one of the best parts of the movie. So this film has a little bit of comedy in it, but it also, it tugs at your heartstrings when their parents, his parents especially, like his mom, when they go to the baseball game for the first time, and she's like, "Are you sure we're at the right stadium?" Like the groundskeeper out there watering things. She's like, "What are they doing with those pillows?" He's like, "Yeah, we're at the right stadium." He's like, and then Luke comes out. He's like, "Lou." She's waving to him. He's like, "Come on, Mom," But another touching scene in this movie was when the Billy, the 8-year-old kid, was in the hospital, and I can't remember. He had something where he couldn't walk. And Babe Ruth said, "Hey, I'll hit a home run for you today in the World Series." I think, the World Series. And so Billy's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "I'll be listening," because he had radio by his bed. And then Lou Gehrig gets over there. He's like, "Sure, Billy." He's like, "You can do anything you want." He's like, "Mr. Gehrig, would you hit a home run for me today too?" And he's like, "Sure, kid." And then he goes, "Mr. Gehrig, would you hit 2 home runs for me today?" He's like, "Sure." He's like, "Only on one condition." He's like, "If I have to do this," he's like, "you got to promise me that one day you'll get up and walk again." And he's like, "Because you can do anything you want to do." And I thought that was a real life lesson. Well, then later on in the movie, I think it's the Lou Gehrig day.
Yeah.
And Lou Gehrig's walking into the stadium with his wife, and he's like, Lou, and he turns around and he's like, "Don't you remember me?" And it's the kid Billy, and he's like, "Look, Lou," he's like, I did it. You told me I could do anything. Here I am. I can walk." And Lou Gehrig, all he says is, "You got a ticket for today's game, kid?" He's like, "Well, yeah, sure." He's like, "Okay," and he walks away. And to me, I thought that was a little. They could have done so much more with that scene. Like I thought, maybe he'll invite him into the clubhouse.
That's just how Lou seemed to be. So I mean,
he's just okay. Well, I guess you're getting into the game. I'd get you in for free, but I thought maybe he would at least, hey, come over there and let's go get some autographs from the other Yankee players and tell them, or Babe Ruth or whoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But come to find out that in that game that he did hit 2 home runs, even though he was striking out left and right that game, and Babe Ruth hit 1. But in reality, fact checked, there was never a game in that World Series where Babe Ruth and him homered in the same game.
Yeah.
There was a game where Lou Gehrig had 2 home runs, but Babe Ruth didn't have one. So just a little extra fact. So they kind of drummed it up for the drama there.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I always thought that's just what players did. They promised home runs a kid. I was hoping maybe one day I'd get picked. Somebody hit a home run, but it never happened.
Yeah, well, first of all, we got to be close enough to talk to the players, Dwayne, right? I don't know about you, but did you ever go down to Old Bush Stadium? It's our farm team here in Indiana for the Indianapolis Indians. Did you ever go over to 16th Street and watch?
Yeah, we had the knot hole.
Yeah,
where kids could get in free. So
do you remember Razor Shines?
He was
he was like
favorite.
our hero coming up. I mean, then I remember when he got called up to the Montreal Expos or whatever. You know what I mean? And everybody's like, "Oh, I have his baseball card, 86 tops." It says Expos, Razor Shines, and I was like, but baseball is such an interesting sport because it brings families together, like especially on dollar hot dog nights. You know what I mean? Who can pass up on hot dogs? But back to this film. Go ahead and give us something else there, Dwayne.
Okay. Well, one thing is right after that ballroom sequence, then there's a band number. The band is Ray Noble and his orchestra, and the song is called "Always," which I don't know if maybe if you're young, you're probably not familiar with that song. It was written by Cole Porter, who was a Indiana native. He was, I believe, he was born in Peru, but he wrote that for his wife as a wedding gift right around that in the 20s, and it's sung. I'm trying to remember. I think Nat King Cole, if you're really old, might know him. Sung.
What do you mean if you're really old? If you like music, you probably know who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not all as old as you, but
but also that's used throughout the movie. Anytime after that, when you see him lovingly with his wife, you'll hear the orchestra kind of bring that "Always" tune into the movie, which is, I thought it's kind of pretty neat, because it's a pretty tune.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, keep going.
Okay, let me turn the page.
Finger swipe.
Yeah, I like the scene where the wife is I believe it was Sam, their friend, came, and Lou wasn't at home, and so.
Oh yeah, she played the dirty trick on him.
She plays the part like that he's cheating on her, and so
that he's out drinking or something too,
or something. And turns out he's upping a Sandlot game for kids, and that's.
I thought that was amazing.
Kind of a pretty cool scene.
Yeah, because I was like, what? I thought Lou Gehrig was supposed to be this great American hero. I'm watching this movie. I'm starting to get mad. I'm like, Lou, what are you doing? You have this lady. She's in love with you. You've been married just a few months, 6 months or so. And she's like, he's been gone for 4 nights. And then she pulled up and she just let him have it. Yeah. I thought another funny scene, good scene, was when they were speeding to get Lou Gehrig. He just got married. Yeah. And they get pulled over by the cow. They're like, hey, you going to make Lou Gehrig late for the World Series? They just got married. So they got the police escort taking him to Yankee Stadium. But something else about Lou is when his mom liked to control his life. Mm-hmm. If you watch the movie, she's like, she's with the wife, Eleanor, and she's like, oh, look at this wallpaper. He's like, what's this? She's like, oh, look good. Lou had some of it, like when we were growing up. And, she's like, well, what about this wardrobe? And she's like, oh, I already had this one delivered. You'll grow to like it. And how about this rug? Oh, we had this rug delivered. You'll go to Lou had one. Just like, so basically she's about to have a nervous breakdown. You can tell she's getting mad. And so when Lou comes home or comes there that day, he goes in there and he tells Mom, and he tells all the guys, get that stuff out of there. You stop putting that up, So basically he had to put a stop to his mom. And so he goes in the kitchen or whatever she's cooking, and he tells her, hey, yeah, I told him to take that stuff down and put it back up. So that's the kind of, and then, his mom, even though that it was always his girl, I think she finally realized that now he has another girl that's taking care of him. So that was a cool little scene in the movie too. I thought that he actually stood up to his mom for once.
Yeah.
And then you remember when his dad's like pulled him over to the side of that scene. He's like, hey, come here. He's like, you better take care of this. He's like, but I gotta go. He wasn't sticking around to hear Mom's wrath.
Yeah, and they're cool at the end. The mom kind of knows baseball, and she's talking about how the manager made 3 boners this game, and just. And then she was bringing up Uncle Otto in the beginning of the movie, and then she says,
"Oh, who wants to be an engineer?
He dig ditches."
So, you were a baseball player.
Yeah, so it's funny to see her transformation.
Right. You got anything else? Keep going if you do.
Let's see. I got stuff. I just got to find the stuff that's actually interesting. So
no, you're fine. One thing that Lou was diagnosed with was ALS. Otherwise stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and that's basically like a degeneration of your muscles. And today is commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It takes you out quick. And here's 10 famous people that I found who died. Ezra Charles, he was a boxer. George Yardley, David Niven, Lane Smith, who played the editor in the Superman Lois and Clark series. Mao Zedong, Dieter Dengler, Jacob Copper Javai, Joe Stone, who was the voice of Cookie Monster, Paul Salucci, and Lou Gehrig. So there's some people that have died that have battled this. There's people today that still battle with this disease. And if you remember the fad, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, they had the ALS challenge where they dumped the ice bucket over you, and then challenged 3 people. That's where all this was stemming from. So go ahead, Dwayne. Did I stall long enough for you to find something?
Yeah, I think, and there's, let me check. I think there's one other guy. Yeah, you didn't, you might have mentioned, did he mention Stephen Hawking?
Stephen Hawking. No, I didn't.
Yeah, he also
okay.
was diagnosed with ALS. So, I mean.
But has he died yet?
Yeah, he passed away.
Okay. This might have been an older video.
Last year. So.
Okay. So.
Let's see. I find kind of interesting is that at the end, I think they sing "Old Lang Syne," which we kind of associate with the New Year's.
Right.
But it also, I mean, it's kind of, I guess, probably back in the old times, olden days, it also was kind of a funerals and graduation farewells or any kind of ending to that other occasion. So that's kind of why they play it there. It's
Yeah.
Because I think we primarily associate with just New Year's Eve, but I think in the past it's been broader use for any time any kind of endings.
So, right. Keep going if you got something before I get to the traumatic part of this.
And then let's see. I don't know. I thought it was neat, but they're going way back to the beginning of the movie on their first date when they're going to the carnival. I'm bringing back the music. There was Chicago, which was published around the 1922, which was a bit around that time, and it's sung by both Sinatra and Tony Bennett. I just kind of picked that out because he's dating the girl and she's in Chicago, and so it's kind of a little neat thing.
Speaking of the carnival, man, what about what is it where he keeps winning her all those stuffed animals or whatever, and then he goes over to the mighty man with the hammer to the bell.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, let's just keep going. Then the one guy goes over there and he hits it. And he goes, ding! She's like, oh, you can do it for me, Lou. You can do it. So he gets up there the first time, boom, nothing. And this other little guy comes over there, ding, hits the bell. And then he's like, ah. And so he gets over there and he finally hits it. He goes, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was a great scene where he gets right into town, and it's like 2 a.m, and that police officer's like, he's creeping around Eleanor's house, and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, he's like, Lou, is that you? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm trying to ask this girl to marry me. And he's like, well, let me help. So they knock on the door, and the mom comes out, what are you doing here at this time? He's like, he's here to call on Eleanor or whatever. So he goes in there, and he asks to marry him. I thought that was pretty cool. There's just a lot of stuff about Lou Gehrig that was good like that. I mean, you got anything else? He's like, yes, no?
Yeah.
Go for it. This is open mic.
Yeah, I have everything, and I'm just trying to pick out the interesting stuff from the non-interesting stuff. Maybe it's all non-interesting. I don't know. It's interesting. There are some times where they kind of foreshadow his death in the movie. I know. Miller Huggins, near the beginning of the movie, says, what do we got to do to get you out of the lineup? What do we have to do? Kill you to get you out of the lineup, Miller Huggins? And it's kind of, it's very early in the movie. And I think,
yeah, I remember that.
And then there's another scene where they're on the beach in St. Petersburg. And,
well, didn't Babe Ruth even say, I'll kill the guy that messes with my hat, too?
Oh, did he? Oh.
I don't know what his exact wording was. Or said something like, he'll wish he wouldn't have, or something, if I remember right. Yeah, it's a great movie. Watch it anyway. But
he just says to his wife, "Over my dead body," and it's just kind of to get back to that serious part. There's kind of some foreshadowing they're doing in the movie.
What do you mean, Lou Gehrig died? No, I'm kidding. So we're going to get down to the ending of this. The bad thing about this is once Lou Gehrig found out from the Mayo Clinic when he was going to die, or what he had. He goes. They have a Yankee Lou Gehrig Day at Yankee Stadium, and he goes in there and he delivers one of the most amazing speeches you're ever going to hear. And I'm going to play actual Lou Gehrig, not from the movie, the actual Lou Gehrig at the end of this, so you can hear it in his own voice, because it was very ominous, because he would talk and you could hear the echo. Like if you've ever been to a sporting event and they do the starting lineup or whatever, especially at baseball stadiums in the older ones, the echo would just echo off buildings and stuff. But once that day was over and he did that, he died less than 2 years later, or right around 2 years. So that disease went fast, really fast. Which this movie came out just 17 months after Lou Gehrig's death. That's a pretty quick film. To get everything put together from the time he died, just 17 months, that's only a year and a half, less than a year and a half to put this movie together. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put in Lou Gehrig's speech right here so you guys can hear him. So take a listen to this.
First baseman Lou Gehrig hung up an amazing mark by playing in 2,130 consecutive games. Then a fatal disease attacked baseball's Iron Man. In Yankee Stadium, touched to tears by the tribute, Gehrig made his last public appearance.
For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad rag. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. When you look around, wouldn't you consider it privilege to associate yourself with such a fine-looking man as is standing in uniform in this ballpark today? That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thanks.
So there you have it. So Dwayne, why don't you go ahead and give me your thoughts on this movie?
I mean, this is a fantastic. This is one of the first movies I remember watching as a kid, and it just it's so powerful. It tells the story of this man who had all this talent, and he just is given a bad break, as he said in his speech, and it's even through that he had a positive outlook on it, and it's just it's an uplifting movie. I think. I mean, there's some tough stuff at the end, but it's still, he held us. He held his hand high, just the way he dealt with his condition, and I think it's really neat.
Right. One thing for me, when he is like, I consider myself the luckiest man alive. He's not only talking about his baseball players, the teams that he was on. He's like, I played with these guys. I played with the greatest Yankees of all time. And then, his wife. At the end of this movie, when after he gives a speech, he just walks down into the dugout and it goes dark. And it says the end. Everything that I've looked up about Lou Gehrig, I cannot find one thing that anybody has said bad about him. Not one evil comment. No, nothing. Did you come across anything?
No, I know that him and Babe Ruth had a falling out, but it had more to do with his mother,
right,
and Bruce's wife. But I as far as Lou Gehrig, I know,
and I don't think that's Lou's type of character. I think that he said what he meant, he meant what he said, and if he told you he was going to do something, he was going to do it. Now, I mean, you can see the little mischief stuff where he's eating the hat just to be part of the thing. If you haven't seen the movie, watch where he's eating the hat and Babe Ruth finds him. But man, I always give the Yankees a hard time because I think they're the evil empire. I mean, honestly, when you win all those World Series, since I've been alive, it's kind of depressing when your team never even makes the playoffs most of the years. But man, I would not mind owning a Lou Gehrig jersey. I would proudly wear that thing because I think just from watching this and just from all the interviews I've seen and just his speech, I think he was not just an amazing baseball player, but an amazing person. Yeah. So... with that being said, we're coming to the close of this. I think we've over. Sorry, we were kind of discombobulated. We went from like his college days to some of his pro days, back to his college days, back to his pro days. But I mean, all in all, this is our first sports movie on the podcast. I've got another one coming up. Hopefully tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Hoosiers. If you haven't seen Hoosiers, it's the equivalent of this movie in basketball. It's a real feel-good homegrown story. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully we record that sometime tomorrow. I'll post it on Facebook if we do. So surprise, you're getting 2 episodes tonight or today. As soon as I get this edited out, I'll put it out there. So we're coming to a close, and I think that's a wrap. And you going to cut it or not?
And cut.